Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today's video is in part of the Marathon Society. We are making the McCallie by K.Dill Handmade. This bag can be made several different ways. I have a full tutorial on the McCallie bucket bag. If you're interested, I will link it down below. I will have the link to this pattern down below as well. In today's video, I will be making the pouch version. This bag will be birthed through the lining. It's got these angled pockets. You can put so many things in there on both sides, and I love this angled base here. It's really cool how this comes together. And then the inside, of course, you have a zippered pocket because we are pulling it through the lining. Now, I did something a little different in this pattern. I did a zipper overlay that is not in the pattern. I just really prefer to do a zippered pocket with a zipper overlay. I think it's a lot easier to do. And I don't like puckered pockets on my lining. That drives me absolutely crazy, and with that option I don't have the puckering at all, and it looks really good. So thank you so much to Kathy with K.Dill Handmade for allowing us to use your pattern in today's marathon. If you haven't checked out any other patterns by K.Dill Handmade, I highly encourage you to check out her website. She has a road tripster tote that is my favorite bag to this day. I use it every time I travel. I'll stop talking and we'll get to making the McCallie pouch. All right, guys, let's get into it. All right, so let's go ahead and go over the pieces to make the McCallie pouch. I've got my zipper here. This is cut to the length that is indicated in the pattern. This is from J&R Edwards. They also sent a zipper pull to use. It looks really cute. I love it. I'm excited to use it. Again, this is available right now for retail on their website. I will go ahead and link that down below, as well as the mushroom zipper pull is also available for retail. We've got our exterior panels. We have two cut for the exterior. I'm using vinyl. This is from Wonderground Fabrics. I'm not really sure what it's called. I bought it some time ago. I will try to link it down below, but again, it's from Wonderground Fabrics. My lining, you'll need two pieces for this. This is, I think it's called Graffiti Mario or something like that. This is also from J&R Edwards. This is Dragon Sheen. It is my favorite base to use for linings or the exterior. It's waterproof and it's such a really nice material. It's got structure. You don't need to interface it. Again, it's like my favorite base. If I'm going to use any base, it will be Dragon Sheen or Theratex or something like that nylon material. It does not fray or anything like that. I just love it so much. I will use it on every bag that I make if I can. You'll need two cuts of this, and like I said, it's from J&R Edwards and it is available for retail right now. So two cuts for your lining. And then you've got your pattern piece C, which is your angled pockets. And then you've got, so I'll be using this as my exterior. And then I've got, I think this is water resistant canvas. It is from mormino.com. I love this color. It's one of my favorites from her. I think it's called, well, I don't remember what it's called, but I can link it down below for you. So that will be my lining piece. And you'll need two cuts for the exterior and two cuts of this for your interior. I've got the bottom, your base, which is pattern piece D for the exterior. Again, this is vinyl. I will not be using interfacing on mine just because I have made quite a few of these, and I think when you're using a thicker material, it holds really well. And then I've got my lining base. I went ahead and marked the centers because I just want to make sure that I'm using it correctly, because even though it looks like a square, the edges are a little bit bigger down on the bottom and the top. So just make sure you keep that in mind. And then I will be doing my zipper pockets a little differently. I just prefer to use a zipper overlay. So I went ahead and measured and cut one out, and then I have my zipper that I'll be using along with just a plain zipper pull for that. I went with silver because the zipper pull for the main zipper is silver, so I wanted to keep the hardware the same. And then I'll be using 2 cuts of this for my lining pieces for the pocket. I think doing a zipper overlay is probably the easiest and quickest way to do a zipper pocket, in my opinion, especially if you're a beginner. I love doing a zipper pocket this way. It's just my favorite, it's just preference. And then I've got a zipper tab for that main zipper. This is bigger than it needs to be. I did that on purpose. Sometimes I will sew it down at the wrong seam allowance and then I have to go back and fix it. So I just went ahead and made it a little bit longer. And that is all for my pieces for the McCallie pouch. So let's go ahead and get sewing. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started with the angled pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my exterior and then my lining piece. And we want to go ahead and lay it so they are right sides together. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out which one is the right side, and this is the right side. So I'll go ahead and take my exterior and lay them so they are right sides together. And I'm going to go ahead and clip all of my edges just to help me keep them together as I sew. And we will be sewing down only the angles of our angled pocket. So we're not sewing down the bottom or the top or the side edges. We're only sewing down the angled edges at the seam allowance given in the pattern. And we will do that for both angled pockets. All right, so our angled pockets have been sewn together at the angles here with the pattern pieces right sides together. So we're going to go ahead and flip this so they are now right sides out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and top stitch these angled edges on both of our angled pockets. So I'm going to go ahead and roll my seams here and then flatten them out, clip them together, and then I will go ahead and top stitch those angles down. And again, we will do that for both of our angled pockets here. All right, so I've got both my angled pieces top stitched along those angled edges. While I was sewing this, I had a mini heart attack because I was like, oh my gosh, did I sew this on incorrectly? And what I mean by that is it's a directional print. So make sure if you have a directional print that you are placing these face down together the right direction so that it's not upside down. So thankfully I did it so it's not upside down, but I was just had a slight little heart attack. So thank goodness I did it correctly because I don't want to unstitch all of that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and grab our exterior main panels. You'll grab both of them, or if you want to do one at a time, you can do that as well. All right, so we are going to place our exterior right side up. We're going to take our angle pocket and place it also so it's right side up. We're going to place it right on top, and the bottom edge is going to be a little bit longer than your exterior panel. That is done on purpose so that you have it's kind of bowed out for your pocket. So you want to match up your sides down at the bottom. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is make sure that the top aligns straight, and then I'll clip the top, and then I'll go ahead and clip it up a little bit like this, and then sew down the bottom. So let's go ahead and clip that top and the bottom edges. We are leaving those angled edges unsewn. We are not sewing that because this is going to be our pocket. So right now I'm just clipping all my edges. All right, so everything is clipped together. I'm going to go ahead and clip my other angled pocket and exterior together. All right, so my completed angled pocket is now clipped onto the exterior. I'm going to go ahead and baste down the side edges and come all the way down the bottom and back up the other side, and then go ahead and baste down the top as well. And you'll do that for both of your exterior panels. I'm going to go ahead and take my completed exterior with the pockets and set them to the side. And I'm going to grab one of my lining pieces. Okay, I've already marked the center for the top and the bottom. The top is going to help me make sure that I center my overlay as straight as I can get it. And also I mark the bottom center because we're going to need to place our lining bottom to our lining panels. I'm going to go ahead and measure down from that center mark, and I'm probably going to go down about 1.5 inches or so from the top edge. And once I find the center and set this in place, I placed double-sided tape on the back, and I'll go ahead and remove the tape and just place it again as straight as I can get it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a 2.5 inch sized ruler, and I will go ahead and measure my placement, off camera. All right, so I have my centers marked, and I went ahead and used the ruler to place the top edge of my zipper overlay down so that it's nice and straight. Now is a good time to use a woven label if you do plan to do a zipper overlay. These are really fun. This is a fun way to add your really fun woven label tags, which I will be honest, I always forget to use them, but I'm going to remember today. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one real quick and place it underneath here on either side, whatever side you prefer, and then I will remove the tape and go ahead and place it down. All right, so I decided to use my label here. These are from mormino.com. I think you send an email to Josie to get these made, and she took care of them. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper from the bottom of the zipper overlay. You can use glue if you prefer instead. And I'm going to take my woven label here and just place it down at the bottom and get it as straight as I can. And I'm going to press down. And you want to make sure you want to lay this as flat as possible. You don't want to distort the opening here. You want it to be straight, not stretched out or anything. So just be careful with that. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sew around the edges of my zipper overlay. Not this portion of the zipper just yet, but only on the outer edges of the zipper overlay. And I will sew that down at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, so that is now sewn on. Now what we're going to do is you want to grab some really sharp scissors. I'm going to fold this in half. I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and just snip into the very center of that fabric. And I'm going to go ahead and start cutting down the center. And what we want to do is create a hole. So I'm cutting down the center on the opposite side now. And what I'm going to do is flip this over, and I'm going to clip around this whole edge, or excuse me, the whole perimeter of this lining fabric. You want to be careful that you are not cutting into your zipper overlay. You don't want to cut into those stitches, otherwise you'll have to fix it. And also, if you are using a woven label, you don't want to cut that when you're cutting around the perimeter of your lining here. So just be really careful when you're cutting into that. And this is what the back looks like. Okay, I've left the woven label alone up here. That's what we have here, okay? And this is what it looks like on the front. So we have an opening here. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side. I am going to go ahead and grab my zipper, okay? And then your zipper pull. I like to wait to add my zipper pull at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my lining pieces. I will grab both of them. And I'm going to go ahead and just, again, I'm just setting this part to the side. I don't need this just yet. Setting my zipper pull to the side. I will grab one of my zipper pockets. If you're using a directional print like I am, just be mindful of that. I'm going to go ahead and place it so that it's right side up. My lining is right side up, and then I'm going to take my zipper and I'm going to place it so that it's also right side up on the very top edge here. Now I did make sure, I made sure that the zipper is about the same size as my zipper overlay. So I'm just going to go ahead and clip this down at that top edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew this down at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, so now we've got our lining attached to that zipper at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip my zipper up, and I'm going to fold the edges so that the seam is now behind that lining panel. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around so that I'm looking at the back side of my lining, and my zipper is going to be flat. Okay, so I'm just pressing the seam here, and I'm going to go ahead and sew this down at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, all right, so when you're looking at the right side of your zipper, you are looking at the back side of your lining. That's what you want. That way when you're inside of the zipper pocket, you're looking at the inside of your lining pieces. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lay this so the zipper is now right side up, your lining is wrong side up. And again, we have a directional print, so I want to make sure that I've got that right side up and the direction is facing the right side as I take my top edge of that zipper and place them now so that the lining pieces are right sides together, but now that back of the zipper is facing, or should I say the right side of the zipper is right side up, just like we did with the other one. I'm just aligning the edges of my zipper pocket here, and then I will go ahead and clip the top edges. So again, you're looking at the top of your zipper, the right side of your zipper, and the back side of your lining, and your lining pieces should be right sides together. I will go ahead and sew that top edge at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, just like we did on the other side. All right, so now we've got that top stitch, not top stitch, but we have it sewn together at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm gonna go ahead and place it so that now my lining is open and we're looking at the back side of your lining and we're looking at the right side of our zipper. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just press against that seam over here on the other side, and we're going to go ahead and stitch this seam down at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now once we're done with that, your lining will be wide open. Okay, that is exactly what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this down on that seam at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, this is one of my favorite things about why I like this pocket, is because now everything is flat. When you sew it the way that we just sewn it together, it is now flat. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to singe the edges of the zipper. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach my zipper pull All right, so that is now on, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and grab some 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape, and I'm going to go ahead and place it so that it is on the top edges of both sides of my zipper when we're looking at the top. And you can use glue here if you'd prefer. It's totally up to you. I do like double-sided tape. I get this from mormino.com. I believe it's by it's from Weft and Warp, but it is one of my favorites to use. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my lining piece that has that zipper overlay on here. If you have a preference on what direction you like your zipper to be, I prefer my zipper to open when pulled to the right and pulled to the left is now closed. So I'm leaving this wide open, and I've got my zipper in the right direction. I'm going to go ahead and place this on top. You can also place the zipper, or you can also place your double-sided tape on the back of this if you prefer, but I like to do it on the zipper. All right, I like to make sure that the zipper is extended and bigger than my zipper overlay, because you want to catch that when you're sewing it down. So I'm just kind of feeling where my zipper is and making sure that it is extended outside of my zipper overlay so that it is caught. And then I want to have it centered as best as you can. I will start moving it from that top here, and I'll remove the paper from the tape that I applied on the top edge of that zipper. So now that we have removed the paper, I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, and I will just give it a press and make sure it's straight. That looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and move my zipper pull to the opposite direction and move the paper off the other side of the zipper tape. And I will place it so that this is now down here. You don't want to pull. You don't want to pull and tug on your lining because you don't want your zipper overlay to be distorted. So just be careful with that and lightly just gently press down and make sure that you have it where you want it, that it's as straight as you can get it. Just don't pull on it. All right, so this looks pretty good. I will now go to my machine and I'm going to top stitch along the edge of that zipper opening at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, making sure that you move the zipper pull out of the way as you go, and you should be sewing with those zipper panels open, okay? So you don't want to close those in. It should look like this. We're looking at the back of your lining and then the front of your lining here. All right, so our zipper has been sewn on to our lining piece with the zipper overlay. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this so that we're looking at the back side, and I'm just going to fold down that top lining. I'm going to grab some clips and clip the side, and all I'm going to do is just sew down the sides at the seam allowance given in the pattern for the normal zipper pocket. We will not be closing out the bottom because you can't do a drop-in lining for the pouch. So you have to, unfortunately, birth this through the lining here. So don't close up your lining down at the bottom. So we're only sewing down the left and right sides. And I will flip it so I'm looking at the top of my lining, and I will sew down each side, lifting up my lining piece here. All right, so I've closed down the sides. Now I realize that my lining pocket is extremely long, so I will be cutting that down quite a bit and then re-sewing the sides here real quick. All right, so I've attached the zipper pull onto this zipper tape. I've singed my edges here. So now on the closed end of your zipper, which is that flat end right here, this is your closed end. On this end is where we're going to go ahead and place the zipper tab. So what I did was I folded it in half and then double folded it like the hot dog bun. So I'm just going to slide the zipper right into the fold right there and make sure it's even on both sides like this, and I will go ahead and stitch that down. I just like to make sure that they're the same size on both sides so that you catch both sides of that zipper tab. Trust me, I have missed the back side many times, so just be mindful of that. Let's go ahead and sew that down. All right, there we go. I've caught both sides. Looks pretty good. All right, so now what we're going to do is that measurement that you make right here on the top right corner, you are going to align the edge of your zipper pull. Not the edge of the zipper pull, sorry. You're going to line up the edge of your zipper tab. We're going to lay it right side down, so the zipper is down. Your exterior panel is right side up, and you're going to line that mark up with the very edge of your zipper tab here. And we're going to go ahead and clip the top. I'm going to move my zipper way out of the way. And I'm going to put a clip at the end here just so the zipper pull doesn't fly off. Grabbing some clips and start clipping this top edge here. So I'm going to lay this, make sure again with the directional print that you place this properly. I am going to lay it so it's right sides down. And I'm going to line up my edges here and clip that top edge. And then I'm going to sew this down at the seam allowance given in the pattern. Now I have already taken the measurements and also placed it on my lining because I just want to make sure I don't miss it on either side. So I have it marked on both sides of my lining and the exterior. Make sure that when you get to the end, you lift up that zipper and sew until you get to that mark. You're going to sew from the very end and come all the way to this mark here. When you get to this mark, you're going to leave the needle down, and then we're going to separate our zipper teeth and place, we're going to pull this zipper teeth up like this, and we're going to continue sewing all the way to the very end. All right, so this is what it looks like right now. I had to go back and fix mine. I missed that mark by a little bit, so I had to go back and fix it. So now we're going to go ahead and open this up, and we want the seam to be behind our exterior panel. We will be top stitching this exterior top panel here along that seam, and your lining should be on the opposite direction. So it'll look like this. So let's go ahead and top stitch that. All right, so that has now been top stitched. We will go ahead and repeat that same thing for the other side. All right, so that is now all attached, completed, all of that good stuff. So now what we're going to do is grab the exterior base. Okay, we're going to place the base along the exterior main panels. We will not be including the lining, so make sure when we are placing our exterior and the exterior base down together that the lining is not with it. We want to take our exterior base and lay it so it's right sides together down at the bottom of our exterior panels. So I'm going to go ahead and clip along this edge. All right, so you can go ahead and sew this down if you'd like to, but I'm going to go ahead and take the other side, and I'm going to go ahead and clip this down to the exterior panels real quick, and then I'll go ahead and sew them down at that same time. So go ahead and clip those edges, and then we're going to sew these seams down at the seam allowance that's given in the pattern. Again, make sure this lining and everything is out of the way. All right, so this is what our pieces should look like. Our base is now attached to both of our exteriors. And I'm gonna go ahead and open up my zipper just because I think it might be best to just open it up. And I went ahead and also trimmed the seam allowance down on both of these. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and attach the lining base. So we're going to have this open, and you want to have your exterior pieces away. We don't want to sew that down on accident. And we're going to, I've already marked my centers, and there are measurements in the pattern that you'll place on the back, and this will help you when we get to putting the bag together. So what we're going to do is you want your lining to be right side up, and we're going to lay our lining right side down. So they are right sides together, and you're going to match up those center marks. And what you're going to do is you're going to sew from one mark to the other mark. Okay, so don't go past those marks. And we will do this for both sides of our lining here. Okay, so match the center on the other side, and you're going to sew it down from one mark to the other mark. All right, so we've attached this bottom here. Okay, so we've got the bottom attached to the lining, the bottom attached to the exterior. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to sew along the sides of this pouch. The exterior bottom is going to be folded inside of that exterior. Okay, so it's going to look like this. So that is correct. This is what you want it to look like. This will be bulky here depending on the kind of materials that you used. You want to be mindful of the materials that you use based off of your machine. Do what your machine can handle, because this right here, I have an industrial machine. My industrial will go through this like butter. However, some machines may not take all of this very easily. So make sure you're being mindful of the materials that you are using based off what your machine can handle. And I want to go ahead and also match up my seams here and my lining on the other side where that zipper tab is. You want to have the zipper tab going into, I know it's hard to see, you want it going into the lining, and then clip that together. And then what we're going to do is we are going to clip all the edges on our sides, and we're going to sew down both sides at the seam allowance given in the pattern. All right, whenever we are sewing our exteriors and our lining, you want to make sure you're paying attention to the seam allowance, because the seam allowance is different for your exterior than it is for your lining. So just be mindful of that. And I've got my zipper open just in case. All right, so let's go ahead and sew down our sides. All right, I will be doing another row stitching just on the exterior side because I want to add stability to these first row of stitches, and also want to make sure my stitches are not poking out when we turn it right side out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And then when I get done with that, we're going to come over here to our lining side, and you're going to trim into the lining, okay, not the lining base, but your lining here on both sides. This is going to make it a lot easier when we get to the next step, whenever we are ready to box our corners, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so I have trimmed my lining here. Remember, not the base, just the lining, so that we can go ahead and square up the corners. So now what we're going to do with our lining, we're going to box the corners here. And it should open up real nicely for you here with that opening that you just cut into. I'm going to go ahead and clip my edges here, and then we're going to sew across those edges at the seam allowance given in the pattern. I'm so excited to see this done. This is going to be really cute. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, so let's go ahead and sew across these edges here at the seam allowance given in the pattern. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cut our seam allowance by half here. All right, so that's all done. Last step, we are going to go through our lining hole here, and we're going to pull everything through. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. All right, so if you're happy with how everything looks, you can reach in and grab your pocket. Bring those pieces out, and we're going to go ahead and close it up. You could use this for anything. How cute would it be if you made the basket version and you used it as an Easter basket? That would be such a good idea. I wish I would have thought of that before I made this video. But the pockets are awesome. You can use it for anything. You can use it for, you know, your sewing stuff, your scissors, rotary cutter, all the good stuff. Or you can use it for traveling. There's so much space in here. You guys, this is such a cute little pattern. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I will leave the link for this pattern down below. There are so many options, so many things you can do with the McCallie. It's one of my favorites. It's such a fun thing. I've already gifted them to teachers, and they love it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you have been enjoying the marathon. I don't know who is next, but I will have the Linktree down below with the full schedule. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.